It shouldn't.
Right? Like, bless her heart. She loved me, but she didn't grill meat, so I actually know how to grill shit on the barbecue. I worked in a kitchen on a grill. Sup, bitches? I worked in a kitchen on a grill.
Good. I'm trying to get audio. I think we're good now.
Did you ever end up checking out Remnant 2?
No, not Remnant 2. I never beat Remnant 1. So,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to finish that game first before I checked out the second one. Me and Katie were playing it for
Sure.
a bit. It was a good game. It was just hard. We were trying to find a third person to play with us for Remnant 1. I think Rude downloaded it. I think you have it on PC, don't you? Remnant?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think you do. It's a good game. I hope everyone can hear us. I can hear us. So, I hope that's good.
Christella, come to our aid. Tell us if you can hear us.
There are 3 viewers, so it could be her.
Oh, I'm one of them.
Oh, you're one of
Hello
them.
and welcome our 3 viewers.
I think it's just one.
Whomever you be, may we not scare you away periodically.
Yes. Well, this is episode 114.
Where we're going to talk about violence.
I know. You know, it's funny. All I've been thinking of is that Blink-182 song "Violence" off of their self-titled album, and all I hear is Tom's
joining us
song.
today?
No, Scott's not going to be joining us today. Focused on other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, hoping to get them back whenever we can.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Scott might have to take like a kind of like hiatus for a little bit. So,
I totally understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you were talking about wanting to get some guests on. So now I think might be a good time to start scheduling that. Get some guests on here.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fill the void that Scott leaves a little bit. Plus, it's nice to just get some new voices on here. That's what we're all about. So,
yeah,
that works out. Did you want to catch up on any personal updates before we kind of launched into sort of like your topic for today, or?
Besides, it's my birthday next week.
It's your birthday. How old are you gonna be? 1,000?
Yeah, 1,000,000. I'm so old. I played an Atari game. Is one of my first games on the PC. It's like an old tank game. Not the one you're thinking of. It's decidedly older. It's like everything was hollow outlines, just done with like straight edges. You know what I'm talking about? And everything was just black, and then the colors of the lines would denote stuff, and you'd like drive forward and shoot, and everything was very rudimentary. You know.
There's you probably saw it on PlayStation. Like they made a movie, a Twisted Metal movie, And so I guess like they ported
Oh
the
joy!
they ported the original game. Like it was like PS1, I think. It's like playable. It's like 500 meg game, like the original Twisted Metal, and I fucking downloaded it because I never played the original Twisted Metal as a kid, and I downloaded it to play it. It is so janky. Like the controls are just. It looks like shit. Like on this big ass
No
TV
good.
I have.
No good.
I was just like,
Interesting.
it was a mess. It was a mess. I played it. I was like, well, I don't think this game has aged very well. I just kind of shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sometimes that's the problem I have with old games. Is I'm like, damn, these fucking things were hard. Like, I need a guide. I need like, especially like old RPGs. Oh
Look,
my god.
nostalgia blinds us all. Okay,
Mm.
we've
Preach.
all we've all done the crime of thinking that something was better just because we experienced it when we were younger.
Rue,
And
I'm
then you
just
go back and
cracking
you
up at you.
re-experience it as an adult.
Yeah, I was just cracking up at Rue
and
because
then you realize
I see you putting lotion on, but all I see is your titties bouncing in the camera. So like, there's just no context to what's happening.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to make sure that my hands are far enough away from my headset that doesn't sound like like adult sounds coming through my mic.
Oh my.
Oh.
George Takei insert. Oh my. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Continue.
Sophia. I was
fine.
just so
No,
fucking.
you're
That was
good.
hilarious.
You're gonna do all that things, huh?
See, that is why I always recommend checking the video version of the podcast if you can.
Especially,
I can't see. I can't even see Rue's camera.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why you can never see my camera. I can see
That's
my
just
camera. Jay
Discord
can see my
jank.
camera.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's just Discord janking its
I
jank
can never
around.
see. I can never see your camera either. It always says unstable internet connection. I can never
Huh.
see.
That's
So that's
bullshit.
why I pull the stream up so I can see you on stream because I can't see you on my phone. I just see your.
Discord's a
Watch the
hater.
stream. It really is.
We're gonna fight Discord.
Discord, I'm howling at the moon.
I don't know. It feels like we kind of talked about this before, but like I just like I keep stumbling upon websites, but websites don't have that same like community feel that they used to. Like when you found like a cool website that you like, so now like everything's just kind of like in Discord or like on a
We're
social
dealing with
network.
the enshittification of society.
Yeah, it's like not great. Does not feel great.
Everything's becoming increasingly secular and fragmented.
Yeah.
And like infighting's tearing shit apart. And it's
really
like
is.
everybody's hurting and nobody has a place to be and everybody's just suckling at the teat of late stage capitalism and trying not to fall apart into big old depression. It's a big old shit.
I agree.
Tearing me apart, Lisa.
Right.
What do you even do when you live in a shoe and there's nothing left to do?
That was a
know.
kid's rhyme, wasn't it?
Yeah,
About
some
people
shit
who
like
lived in a
that.
shoe. Sometimes I feel like I live in a shoe. I don't know. We saw this gorgeous. There's this house around here that's gonna be listed. It's like 3 lots, and it's like a house. It's like a twin house, three-story house or 2-story. I can't remember. It's big as shit. It's got 5 fucking bedrooms and 3 bathrooms in it, and it has an in-ground pool. And it's like right around the corner from where we are now. It's got like a yard and an in-ground pool.
It's around the corner from my mom's.
Under $400K. I was like, what? But there's no interior pictures.
And then watch
so...
it has like fucking black mold and shit,
Right.
and like it's owned by a hoarder.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
look who is
exactly.
here on Kick in the chat. Tetrabriaton. I hope I pronounced your name right. I feel like I butcher it every time, and I'm so sorry. But you have been like our most oldest, most OG follower.
The OV. No, OV. Original
OV.
viewer.
Original viewer, yes.
I like it. It's always a pleasure, Tetra.
Yes, we love.
That's why we just shorten. Everything's got to get shortened to one syllable. You know how the rule works. And that's you get two because you're special.
No, everybody, you can do 2 to 3 syllables. Come on.
I know. It's just a Philly thing.
Some names can't be condensed. I prefer Sophia to Soph.
Soap. Sounds like soap.
Sophia.
I would never.
Yeah. There's just
I'm more
certain
likely
names.
to call you Omni than
Right.
Sophia. Like that's what I would consider.
I know, it's so funny. It's kind of like when I meet someone, right? Like in an online sort of space, and like that's their screen name, or just like kind of like in the magical occult community, how people have like, you know, like their magical or craft name that they use versus they don't like to use like their real or legal name or whatever. Like when I first met Cloud the pagan rapper, that's how I met the guy. So now I just call him Cloud because that's just how that's like the association I've made in my brain. And then like when he like added me on Facebook, I was like, who's this rich guy? Who's this? I'm like, oh, it's Cloud.
That's what trips me up is like I get called Omni all the goddamn time by people who know me online.
Right.
Like even over in the Omnimancy group, when you wouldn't be wanting to call me Omni because my screen name's not actually Omni there. Call me Omni. And I'm like, how is this not confusing to anybody who doesn't know me deeply?
I know that might seem a little egotistical, right? Like going into the Omnimancy class.
No,
like...
I mean I changed my name for the place, right?
Well, yeah.
It's not like it
Omnimancy
doesn't feel egotistical.
Master 5000.
It feels weird. I would definitely not say I'm a master. No, I prefer to err on the side of humility and undershoot my skills to people so they expect less of me, and then I can blow away their expectations when they think I ain't shit.
That's fair. I think it's always that's sort of like the angle that I do too, is I always try to come across as like the unassuming one, you know, like the one that's just
too many people try to put themselves on like they're much bigger than they are, they do more than they are, and like also because of that a lot of people then get trapped up into the game of, oh, I'm gonna do this to prove that I am that thing, and then it's like you get lost into doing it for the sake of the ego and like the power climb of like what you can actuate instead of like actually trying to cause some type of positive beneficial change, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of like I started poking around on Threads, which is the, you know, the new, or what is it, Zuck's Twitter alternative, or X, whatever the fuck it's called now. But anyway, he's got his own thing.
Call it Twitter just to make Elon but
yeah. Right. I still call it Twitter. It's still fucking Twitter to me. But so Threads, I've kind of been enjoying Threads. I never really liked Twitter. It always felt like a club, like a social club that like I couldn't break into. It always felt like something that I was like on the fringes of. It didn't feel very like I didn't know how to get into the communities of Twitter. So which is why I checked out Threads, because I was like, well, first it's just started. So what better way to get on something and on the ground floor, just like how we did with Kick, you know, I'm like, why not, you know, get in while it first started. But Threads is nice. It's more conversational, but like it kind of bums me out when I see people coming over from Twitter that like they start their Threads account and it just feels like a copy of their Twitter account. It's like you don't have to like be a content creator all the time. Like you could just make a post, you know? I don't know. It just feels weird.
Divest from the Sigma hustle grind set. Divest from it.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess because it's like for me, like
I work 70 hours a week.
I know. Like I don't pull like ridiculous amounts of overtime, and like yesterday I was having a fucking mental breakdown in the morning because like I woke up, like I've just been so in this like wake up, go to work, wake up, go to work like cycle that the weekend came and it was Saturday. And there was a million things that like I could do, because it's Pagan Pride planning season. We have a convention that we're going to that's coming up. Like it's a whole lot of things that are going on. And I could have picked any one of a million things to do with my time, but I was just paralyzed. The only thing that my brain could focus on was go to work, even though it was Saturday and like my day off. So like it's just, it can really fuck with you when you get caught in that pattern.
You know, I understand that a lot of us can't because of capitalism and how hard it is to live right now and how little a lot of people make. But like, if you're in a position where you can do less, you probably should, because like, let's be real, you may be making personal extra money for yourself, but you're also making those extra, like taking a fucking money and putting it in your employer's pockets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of this shit is just violence. And let's get into the hardcore topic, right? A lot of us have to work a job under the threat of violence, right? You
Yeah.
starve if you don't. You fucking lose your home if you don't. You lose your car if you don't, right? And you need a car so that you can get a job, so that you can fucking, you know what I mean?
It's a
So you can
vicious
have
cycle.
a house. And it's
Right.
like, it's not a vicious cycle. It's a deliberately designed cycle of violence that's like expressly purposed to keep us down, right? And so
Yeah.
this is why I wanted to talk about it. It's like, violence is not necessarily inherently bad, right? Like, everything you even eat comes from something that was once alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of like what we're willing to conceive of as violence, right? Like, every single law that you have in a society that you operate under is backed up in accordance with the threat of violence, right?
Mm.
Whether that violence is isolation from society through jail time, or whether that violence is like execution of your life from a cop who wants to act like he has the authority to make that decision. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
Like, everything in society is backed up under threat of violence, and yet we want to sit here and wring our hands like we're not complicit in it, or like it's somehow unjust when people utilize it to take their power back, right? And it's a complicated thing, because talking about it really gets people, it really gets people concerned, because they're like, well, what are you talking about violence for? What are you unhappy about, right? And it's like, there's a great deal of many things to be unhappy with
Oh yeah.
within our society, right?
Yeah.
And like, how does one mount a meaningful resistance in a society which levies a totality of violence against an individual should they want a system to change, right? Like, we're forced into something that we didn't truly agree to, right? You're born into something and you're put into it against your will,
I say that all
and
the
we have
time,
to
like
navigate.
that social contract that you sign to be a part of
Mhm.
society. It's like, well, when did I sign that? Well, just by being born, just by existing, means that you've signed
It's an
it.
abuse. It's an abuse of the individual, is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? We need to be able. The only way to justly have that society be imposed on someone is to give them a true and equal share of being able to sculpt the laws of the society they live under, right? When you have the majority of power control rested by a venture group of individuals who like take the power and keep it for like the 0.01, then you are essentially subservient to a modern monarch, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rules are different, the terminologies are different, the distribution of power is different, but it's the same fucking structure. It's still monarchy. It's just a new one. And that's all it's ever been, you know? That's why people try to call it like neo-feudalism or like modern oligarchies, you know?
That's
When
what it
in,
is.
I mean, oligarchy is pretty
Yeah.
accurate, yeah. You have a rich aristocracy class that get to buy and sell laws in countries and entire livelihoods, and given the chance, they will make decisions that will kill millions of people if it align their pocketbooks, i.e. wars, right?
Mm-hmm. I think about that a
And this is
lot.
the type of shit that we should be pushing back against, right?
Yeah, I think about that a lot in terms of like I think about like recently there was a big lottery jackpot here. It was the Mega Millions. It was $1.5 billion. And of course, they take
Mm-hmm.
taxes out and whatever. But it's still a shit ton of money, right? So this jackpot was a shit ton of money. Someone in Florida won, of course. Ew, Florida. But
Let me guess, an old person.
I don't know, just someone in Florida. But given the ratio of old people to young people in Florida, probably. And I was thinking about it, I was like, man, why can't I win that jackpot? Like, I would be so radically, terrifyingly charitable and nice and like,
It almost
like,
seems rigged, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
Even
nobody
though
who
I
ever
know
has
the
positive
lottery is
intentions for
chance.
the world wins the fucking lottery.
Yeah, like
Is it?
why
Is
is
it really?
maybe like magically rigged?
Mm.
Maybe not technologically rigged,
Like,
but maybe like
how
magically
often
rigged.
how often does somebody who truly makes a big difference in the world win a sum of money that makes them capable of doing so?
Right, like how does you get real lucky at a casino? Like I start counting cards. Like that was the episode of The Simpsons where
Maybe.
they all learned how to count cards so they could raise funds for the church that burned down. That was like such
Or
a
maybe
fantastic
you give
episode of The
people
Simpsons. Like
money,
I fucking can't.
or maybe when you give somebody enough money to no longer think of themselves as a normal person, they fundamentally change their attitude towards other human beings.
Yes. But I think about that, I'm like, man, I would just like, if I had that money, I would do so much good shit that like billionaires wouldn't know what to do. They'd be like, oh, whoa, hold on, we gotta stop that. They'd probably take me out. That's probably what would happen if I won all that money.
Maybe you
I'd
just
have to
wouldn't get
hire
it to
my own
begin with.
militia.
For all we know, there's a vetting system where a number comes up and they figure out who would have fucking won it. I know it's probably impossible, but
It
for all
definitely
we know,
sounds very deep conspiracy theory, but I
yeah.
think conspiracy theories are fun. I like to entertain them because they're fun. But I know for some people they can be very dangerous if you're not careful.
Yes.
Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Sorry, 3 of the 5 personalities would all like to speak at once.
So that comes in the form of a cuckoo clock. I was thinking about like I guess kind of bringing it back to violence. I finally got Rue watching Vikings. We're on the final season of the show.
So many dead children.
So many dead kids. It's awful.
So many dead children.
The show is very
Spoilers.
Game of Thronesy in that they kill a lot of fucking people. So don't form attachments if you haven't watched the show yet.
What show?
Vikings on Hulu.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, it's medieval time shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
of course you're gonna be killing people.
Right. And I was thinking about that in terms
Children.
of, well, yeah, terrible. But well, like the show just makes it worse because there's like all this music and songs and like all this like ambiance, and then it's like a dead kid, and you're like, ah, fuck, brutal. But I think about that, right, in terms of
Artistic,
today,
but brutal.
like, yeah, like in terms of today, like generally, we don't have children that. Generally, we can cure most child disease, like sicknesses and things like that would normally kill children then. But I was thinking about it in terms of the main character,
No,
Lagartha.
lots of kids die. Even in modern times, lots of kids die.
I know
I
that.
almost did as a kid too.
Yes. But we have a lot more. But things that used to kill kids then don't really kill. You know what I mean? We have cures for like lots of like things that we view as like common
Polio.
illnesses. Yeah, and or just stuff like that. So like we've come a long way. We'll only continue to get better, but science and medicine have improved. But I was thinking in terms of the character Lagartha, she kind of hits her old years, her retirement years, I guess, and she buries her sword. She's like, I just want to live and want to be a little farmer with my little cottage. What most of witches are saying lately these days. I just want my little cottage in the woods, and I don't want to have to fight anymore, and I don't want to have to deal anymore. But so that's kind of what she does. But then like of course like this fucking bandits come in and raid the little fucking village that she's got going on. So she's got
that option.
Right. So it's like she's got to dig up the fucking sword and get back in the fight. And I was thinking about that in terms of like we take a lot of things, I think, for granted, especially in, at least just from my situation I live in a city, modern things, I have all my creature comforts, I have heat, I have air conditioning, I have running water, all these things. And I really don't have, at least it doesn't happen often here, is where it's not like a militia of dudes with guns just kind of rolls down the street and just takes all your shit. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen anymore. But the violence,
America.
right, that, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, from my perspective, like, that doesn't happen here particularly. And so from my worldview, I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't really happen here. I know it can happen in other places. But I guess I was just thinking in terms of like, but we take, so like in America, yeah, we don't have militias and like raiding parties of people coming into neighborhoods and taking everyone's shit. But what we do have is, like you were saying, Sophia, is like all these systems in place to keep us down all the time. You know what I mean? Like, we just inflict that violence on ourselves in another
Like
way.
the medical system.
Right, like the
Yeah.
medical system. Like, my foot is still
American
broken.
medical system is a great example of violence.
Yeah, like my foot is still broken, but my doctor released me from care. How does that make sense?
That's a statement I shouldn't have to say, that a medical system is an example of violence.
Right.
When the very thing that you would consider the antithesis to what violence is, care for an individual, has been co-opted into a violent structure, you've lost all just measures in your society.
Yeah, because in order to really get proper care for yourself, I'm realizing, like, if you have a condition or an injury or something like that, if you really need proper care, you have got to know you've got to know how to read these fucking documents. You got to really read them. You got to know what you're signing. You have to know how to, like, call insurance companies and navigate and communicate to them what you're trying to get covered and what the reason it's for. You know, like, it's not everyone, I realize, has that knowledge or capability to do that. You know, like, if someone's like, oh, I'm trying to get this done, it's like, oh, well, you know, call your insurance company and explain X, Y, and Z. They just might not have the ability to explain what X, Y, and Z is, you know? And I just don't think that you should, but it's also like they don't teach us how to navigate the system that we have to live in schools. So like, they don't
For
teach
real.
us financial, like, they don't teach us how to, like, manage our finances.
They don't teach us shit.
Like, they don't really teach us anything. They don't teach us how to manage our finances. They don't teach us how to find housing. They don't teach us how to shop for deals in, like, supermarkets.
School
They
really
don't teach
fails us all.
It's, yeah, and that in and of itself is a system of violence, because a lot of times it's just that school to prison pipeline that they're trying to institute.
It's like set up so that you can be a good little subservient factory worker and know only as much as you actually need to benefit your boss, right?
And it
Exactly.
blows my mind, because it's like, who actually wants that?
The rich, because then you're too stupid and uneducated to know how to fight back.
Right. And then I'm saying, like, from, like, the common man perspective, it's like, no one, like, I'm like, who wants to live like that? Fucking nobody. Nobody just wants to be like a mindless drone. Now, there are people out there that are like, look, I'm totally cool with going, clocking in my fucking 40 hours and going the fuck home at the end of the week. And that's fine, but it's like, I know that, but they don't want to work, like, in shit conditions, you know, like, they want to be paid fairly and work in a good place.
That we have people who demand that we live like animals, less that like literally like human chattel is what we are to them, right? They demand conditions that no human should have to endure. They're literally crimes against humanity, you know? Not
Right.
to use that term lightly, but like modern society is a crime against humanity, right?
Because it goes
There's no other way to
against
describe it.
the very nature of humanity. Like, I feel like our very, like, intrinsically, what do we want to do? We want to explore,
Be
we want to
connected.
create, we want to connect, we want to eat, we want to fuck,
We
we
want
want
to
to fight.
grow.
Sometimes we want to fight, but then we
Yeah.
get over it, you know? Like, it's what we want to do. And if we could just dedicate our lives to the things that we wanted to do, like, if we constructed a society, it was like, if someone's like, hey, I'm okay with being the garbage collector because garbage collectors make decent pay and blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm gonna go be a garbage collector. That's cool. I'm fine with that. And it's like, I just wish that, like, we could have a society that celebrated
Now
placing
here's
people
the
where they want to
crux.
be.
here's the crux of it all. What's the one thing that keeps us from being able to do it?
Capitalism, I suppose.
But what have we reiterated that capitalism is? A system of
Violence.
system of oppression and violence.
Yeah.
Because you have to adhere to the system under threat of violence.
Right.
So we're constantly told that the only way that we can do this is to just be very polite about it and ask nicely, you know?
But that doesn't work.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
When has it ever worked?
It's kind of like sort of the lie that we were fed in college. Like, at least when I was in college, this sort of vision that we were fed is like, you come out of here, you're gonna get a great internship, and then you'll end up working for some, big media conglomerate. Like, I was a communications major, so that was like, the expectation. That was the path that was set before me. And none of that happened. The one newspaper I worked at, I got fired from.
Philly Gay News.
The Philadelphia Gay News, I got fired from because I couldn't meet their quota for selling ads, because no one wants to buy ads in a fucking printed newspaper because print is dying. Sorry. I love print, it's dying. But anyway.
Practically dead now.
Right. Dead and dying. Fuck you, Mark Siegel. Anyway. But yeah, there was sort of the lie that we were fed, and I work in real estate now. I work in fucking no, I'm not a realtor. I refused to do that because that's still sales. So I'm not a salesman, and I never fucking will be, because I'd be the worst realtor. I'd be like, you want this fucking house or not? Well, sell me on it. No.
You gonna buy it, prick?
Buy it, sign this fucking paper, and give me your deposit. Thank you.
Here's the flooring. Look at that. It'll mark up if you get bad shoes on it. Respect this place. Come on. Now, you gonna buy it or what?
All right, let's all go into real estate now. No BS real estate co.
I enjoy working in film. I enjoy working in film. Oh, as much as my job can be difficult, I fucking love it. And I'm never going to stop working in film as long as I can.
See, I'm glad that you found, I guess maybe in a way you found your vocation, perhaps?
I found something that I can do that makes me feel like I don't want to die. That's it.
That's fair. That's
beautiful.
Fair. That's fair. My job's kind of like that.
I would like to sell marijuana to the peoples. I would like to make the peoples happy.
If that's the thing that you need to do, then that's what you should do.
Unfortunately, as of right now, it's pseudo illegal to do that in the way that you
do magic. Let's fix the shit. Do magic. Let's fix the shit.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? So witchcraft, like I see a lot of these articles, witchcraft, Wicca, paganism, all of the occulty sort of things that fall under those woo umbrellas are rising in popularity, as we've talked about a couple times.
The occulty community.
Yes. It's funny, I actually have, I'm in an email back and forth with a reporter from the Philadelphia Inquirer who's writing an article about our local pagan community. And the fact that, like, usually, like, for Pagan Pride, like, we'll do outreach and we'll send out press releases and, try and get some kind of something, some kind of notice. Usually no one bites, but this time it was interesting that a reporter is, like, reaching out to us, which was pretty cool. I just find it interesting that, like, wow, the Philadelphia Inquirer, like, is going to be writing a piece about the pagan community, and I think that's pretty telling of how, like, the rise in its popularity. Like, even people that normally, like, I feel like most people that I kind of talk to, like, if I talk about, if they're like, oh, like, what do you like, what's your faith or this or that, if we ever get into that, usually I'll just say Wicca, depending, like, on the person. And most people have heard of Wicca, and they know what it is, kind of. And they have this, like, general sort of idea of what it's like. Oh, it's like nature and stuff, right? And you're like, yeah, like nature and stuff. And most people are like, oh, that's really nice. And I just kind of, like, leave it. Sometimes less is more, in those situations.
Oh, I like to do more is more in that situation. Like I actually had somebody at work when I was doing Magic, and they're like, "Oh, I love Wiccans." I'm like, "I'm not a Wiccan." Immediately and reflexively, and he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, what are you?" I'm like, "I'm a chaos magician." I explained what I did, and he's like, "Okay."
Okay, bye. See, I usually take the
Thank you.
I take the I'm the forever a diplomat role. I'm always like, oh yeah, like I kind of just like will lean into whatever they're kind of saying, and
You
I just
know,
kind of fill in the
I'm not
blanks.
I'm not good. I am not good at being a good person when I do that. I'm in my best suit when I give people honest, unabashed truth because anytime
Whether
I
they
try to
like it or
filter
not.
things and think I mean, I will tiptoe around certain things obviously, like I'm not insensitive, but
Right.
like when it comes to sparing other people's feelings on like actually stating how I feel or what I think if the truth is going to kill them, then they should die.
You heard it here, folks.
Like
Heard
for
it here.
real, I'm actually quoting Immanuel Kant.
Oh, but still, you heard it here.
Yeah, I believe it was Immanuel Kant. Unless I read that quote wrong and my brain is dumb. That's a real quote from me there. Unless I read that quote wrong and my brain is dumb.
It's okay.
There you
Always
go.
fact check us. That's what I always say to anyone who's listening.
Mhm.
Fact check the fuck out. of
Don't
us.
Seriously.
I'm not citing sources. Actually, I just did there. But still. And
We
if I do cite a source,
consume-
check that source.
We consume way too much cannabis on this channel. So you need to fact check everything.
Like I was
that's
gonna,
happening now.
yeah.
No, I
The
don't
whole
have
reason we
mine.
did a
It's not
violence.
here.
The whole reason we
Missing.
did violence on this episode is I brought up that on last week's topic, and I was like, you don't even exist without violence. Even the food you get comes from often monocrop systems that like put violence on the land, right? And then I went and talked about corns, beans, and squash because that's where I was at in like breeding sweetgrass
Yeah.
audiobook that week, right? So
Yeah.
of course I'm going to talk about that shit. And I totally got distracted and didn't talk about the violent suppression inherent in modern systems that we live under, and I just like left that shit out conveniently when like that was the main fucking point I was building to because I was stoned. And see, normally I don't get this stoned, but I'm working, which means I smoke very little during the week. And when I get high on the weekends, I get fucking
Obliterated.
through the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like that too. Like I noticed, like if I'm not really like smoking a lot during the day, like at night and on the weekends, I'm like, holy shit.
Echo.
Oh yeah, Rue was right next to me, was actually bringing me cannabis. So lovingly discussing.
So
Thank
you
you.
realize I probably should have muted my mic
Yeah.
before I ran over there. Yeah. Oopsies.
All good.
That happens. It's okay.
We should. I feel like a really funny thing to do for the podcast would be to have like a secondary camera, like behind the scenes, like me and Rue, like just like the actual behind the scenes of this.
Oh gosh.
No.
It's terrifying.
I'd like to be able to cultivate the view that I present to the internet. Thank you very much. I'm 33.
Call it the BTS camera, just so that we can get mad young K-pop fans coming into our chat to yell at us who don't understand that BTS also means behind the
Right.
scenes. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Didn't one of their members come out as gay recently or something?
I don't know. I don't know a thing about BTS, and I haven't even heard a single one of their songs.
All I know is I have a coworker who is obsessed with K-pop, and that's about all I know.
I am not.
They're the only other NB in the company that I know, and they're obsessed with K-pop. And I was like, that tracks. Yeah, I feel that.
I like a little bit of it, but like I try to remember that a lot of it's hyper-capitalist, and like very exploitative of the artists, and that a lot of it's actually lifted from like other cultures, and like has sometimes inherent racist flaws with it that isn't often addressed by the people who rapidly consume it. But that's okay. I'm not here to make people who enjoy K-pop feel bad.
I mean, all popular music is grossly capitalist at the end of the day. But
not inherently. Like
I
a lot of music that people of color make is
shame.
not inherently. Yeah, I mean, I love baby metal too, but a lot of music made by people of color in communities that are not from dominant power structures are inherently capitalist. A lot of that actually is pretty fucking great to listen to.
I have like I go to podcast and my voice is like wonderful. I lose it completely. I'm becoming an old, decrepit man as time goes by.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting early onset arthritis over here. God damn it.
Oh, yeah. I played Horizon Zero Dawn yesterday. So after my crippling, like, I don't know what the fuck to do with myself because the only thing I do is work. Rue decided that the only way to fix me was to break out the volcano, which was true. So we used that. That was fun. And then I played Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West. I'm sorry, for like 6 hours. I don't know, like all day or something like that. And my hands
Passed
hurt.
out.
My hand, I'm like, oh my god, my crippled, wizened, arthritic hands from fucking playing all day.
It's because modern society makes you like, look, when we used to live in a different type of society, we had a variation of tasks. So you'd get rotation of muscle groups and you'd allow them to get rest, which would allow you to develop as a whole. But then you get into a modern society that demands hyper specialized tasks to be repeated for a source of income to supplement what was normally given freely through a society to people who needed stuff. And suddenly you have to do something to the point where it breaks you, when before it used to just be something that you would do during a given time of year or giving a during period, you know? Like you're not going to be making fucking clothes all year. You do that shit in winter when you're bunkering down and not fucking dying from the cold, for example.
But if all you're doing is just sewing clothes, you know, over and over and over, well, of course your hands are gonna look like fucking claws by the time you're, you know, in your 60s or even before that.
And besides, summertime is better for processing food to store for winter. You know what I mean? Like there's way more important shit to do, and you should be getting that. And like there's different tasks throughout the year, and you get the different skills for it, right? And then you rotate that shit. And you also get a break because you're not fucking working your ass off all goddamn winter, right? Like we were supposed to rest for half the year. People forget this shit.
They sure do.
Straight up.
That's like my job right now. Like, our busy time is now. Our busy time in real estate is the summer. It's starting to slow down because we're getting back to school time. Because most people want to buy a house before, you know, kids start school. Makes sense. But it's been really fucking busy, and we have temps right now, and you know, eventually the temps will leave after the busy season's over, and then it's like, with the way our team used to be structured, it used to be like everyone kind of had their own designated role, and now how we've had people leave, then they've never backfilled. So with every person that's left, they've never backfilled that person. So like that person's responsibilities just got rolled onto someone else and onto someone else and onto someone else.
Oh my
so
god!
Now we're at
That's
the
how you
point.
destroy a company.
Yeah, and now we're at the point where everyone is responsible for everything. Because there's just so even when our busy season is done and the temps are gone.
Who's your manager?
He left.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. And the new guy is not someone that I agree with his philosophy. Well, he was not really the new guy. He's the guy who was above my boss. So that's who's managing us now until another boss gets hired in between.
You mean somebody who just has enough money to establish a company but not inherently understand its structure and how the task is done?
So yeah, literally, like this guy, like the guy who's currently my manager, was just like, yeah. So he really truly does not understand like what we do, like how we do it, what we check, like our daily operations. He just like if I said
it's usually the problem,
right? Like if I said, hey man, jump in and cover my job, he would have no clue how to fucking do my job. But he's my boss.
But they seem to think that they have the ability to tell you how to do your job in a more efficient manner.
Yep, and that's what he's doing, and he's basically reverting it back to the point where the company was a couple of years ago, where there was a mass exodus because everyone was overworked. So I don't know what will happen. What will happen? Who knows?
Who knows?
No idea. Oh, all
You
these
have to keep
people.
listening to our podcast to figure out how our crazy lives
All
end
these
up.
people left. Why did they all leave? Oh, because I was a shitty boss. Yeah, that's literally that's really fucking why. Cause you suck. No, it's just they're just basically
It's
just
that
trying to.
Simpsons meme. Is it the children? Sorry, am I wrong? No, the children must be the problem.
Children
Right.
must be wrong.
Right. It just blows my mind because it's like I constantly see people that have like different types of office jobs, right? Where it's like, yeah, I go in, I'm in at 8, 9 o'clock, and usually by 3, 4 o'clock everything's kind of wrapped up, and 5 o'clock I leave. Everything's fine. Answer some emails, type up some documents, whatever. Take some phone calls. With my job, it's literally like every fucking minute of my life is consumed. Like, because I'm always doing something. There's either like a thing to check, a message to answer, an email, a call, a check to cut. Every minute of the day is consumed by this job. And it's like, okay, so our busy season's coming to an end, but now you're just gonna squeeze every fucking minute that you can get out of us. And it's like, I want to ask this dude, like, do you work every minute of every fucking day? Like, truly work every fucking minute that the whole time you're here? No, you don't. Because I don't count sitting in a meeting as working. Thank you. Mic drop. This dude scheduled 3 meetings in 1 week about the same fucking thing. He was like, I just want to make sure we have enough coverage. Okay, we're all here working. How much more coverage? Because I can't conjure people out of thin air, dude, for coverage. So I just don't know what you fucking want. Pissing me off.
He expects you to raise them from the dead, obviously.
Obviously.
No, he expects you to suffer.
Yeah.
That's what they're all about.
Mm-hmm. It was like, hey man, we got a lot of work. He's like, oh, well, overtime. I was like, oh, no. I did that the first 2 weeks of kind of managing things, and I nearly killed myself doing it. Violence.
No company's worth it.
Yep. We have gotten to a state in society where people who run shit don't even value the people who make them the money, and they will run you to death because they don't care about you.
And because they know that there is another person who will take your spot. There's another person who needs the job.
Freely and gladly.
Mm-hmm. My camera gets out of focus, and then I have to turn it off and turn it back on again.
I was like, hello.
That's the violence of society right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think about it, because I'm like, I would love to just like leave my job and just like do this full time, do my shop full. Like, I'd love to just do what I want to do full time, but it's like if I do that, then no, we're on the street, And it's like we're saying, like that's that violence. It's like, oh well, if you don't work, you'll starve. Okay, why can't there be like a middle ground? Like, I don't know why it's got to be like one way or the other kind of thing. And they've made it but like while the people at the top have never worked a fucking day in their life. Like, if you actually ask them to work, they'd be like, "What? What? You want me to work? What's that?" Like, imagine asking like
10 minutes without their hands blistering and bleeding.
Right, imagine like asking like, I don't know, like Bezos to be like, deliver this package. Like, could he do that? Like, do you think he'd be capable?
No.
I don't think so either. Like, could you imagine like Bezos pulling up to an Amazon warehouse for a flex shift? I want to see it happen. No. There was that show, wasn't it called like Dirty Jobs or like Undercover Boss? Undercover Boss, that was the show that I'm thinking of. Imagine fucking Bezos driving a goddamn Amazon van.
Yeah, but even those undercover bosses went right back to being fucking bosses afterwards, right?
Oh yeah, it was just all for publicity and for people to buy stock in their companies, I'm sure, as most things are.
And to promote their companies.
Oh man, I would just love to see Bezos struggling on a delivery route. That would bring me immense joy. See that? I would also, I don't know, like...
Do you think, though?
Or like Elon on the assembly line of Tesla,
Do you think anybody would be unable to recognize men that rich though? Without
Honestly, I think
prosthetics?
I would pass Jeff Bezos in the street. He's just
Not realize.
he's just a bald white dude that looks like every other bald white guy. Like, I would pass him on the street unless he had like an entourage, obviously, like, you know, Mark. But if he was just walking down the street like jeans and t-shirt like anybody else, I would not think twice. I'm more likely to recognize people in like bands and shit than I am like big name. I'm like more likely to recognize someone in like a small band or like someone from like the witch community. I'd be like, oh, I remember them from that one Pagan Pride, this obscure event that I went to 3 years ago.
If I see somebody, it's impossible for me to not recognize them if I've seen them before.
Oh my God! Looping back to earlier and seeing like people that only like you would recognize as famous, watching Vikings and seeing shout out to Paleke, that cover artist, that metal artist from YouTube, and he got his couple of episodes on Vikings, and I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing! Because like I was watching him on YouTube in like the early aughts. And he's on History Channel now. Yeah.
What's he doing on his? Oh, right. Vikings is
Vikings.
I always forget what network. No, of course I recognize that Vikings is a fictional show.
Obvi.
But like with all things, it's all reconstructed. We're allowed to take what we need from it. I do like sort of the overarching theme in Vikings, which I do like. Unfortunately, a lot of it shows like how Christianity kind of took over, you know, and slowly assimilated, and you know, kind of made those pagan religions die out. But there are some cool conversations between the characters, like for someone who was Viking and then became a Christian and then kind of went back to be, you know, following Thor and Odin again. It's kind of like he was saying, like, well, I believe in the All Father and you pray to the Holy Father, and in my mind, they're the same. You know, like, what's the difference, really, you know, with that? So, like, there's some really cool themes in there that I like, and it kind of really fits my worldview. Which reminds me, I wanted to mention this on the podcast. I realized that there's something. Sometimes we shit talk Christians, and I kind of wanted to clear the air a little bit. Like, I don't mean bad Christian. I don't mean, like, I'm not shit talking good Christians. Like, people that, like, believed in what Jesus said and, like, really lived to it. You know what I mean? Like, help the poor, be kind to your neighbor, you know, like, don't be a judgmental prick. You know, for people out there doing that, props to you. I see you. I respect you. But, like, I think it's this evangelical movement that's, like, the really big problem, and that seems to be the movement that has really allied themselves with the right and the conservative, at least here in the US. And I realized that they don't even believe in Jesus anymore. Like, they don't even believe in the actual teachings of Jesus, because I was reading this article. I'll have to find it again to link it. And this article was also, like, some people also, like, I saw some people were making, like, TikToks about this particular article that I had read. But it was like this evangelical pastor was saying, like, he was like giving a sermon, referencing the part.
He was giving a homily. Referencing the Sermon on the Mount.
That's what it was.
Which is a parable that is in the Holy Bible. For those who aren't aware, it is where Jesus takes 7 fishes and I can't remember the number of loaves. Google me. But he takes some bread and he takes some fish, a small amount,
feast, right?
And he makes a feast enough to feed like 1,000 people. They don't really say how many people, but a ton of people. And obviously this teaches to share what little you have, and it will go farther and everything like that. So
there was something about turning the other cheek too. Was that in that same?
That's another I believe that is another parable that he gives on the Sermon of the Mount. Which is if someone offends you, someone slaps you on your left cheek, offer them, do not raise your right hand, offer them your right instead.
Right, yeah.
Offer them your right cheek instead. Yeah, I believe both of those are part of the Sermon of the Mount, which is in obviously the New Testament.
But yeah, so like this pastor was, giving a homily like in regards to those lessons, right? And then like afterwards, one of the members of the congregation came up to him and was like, "What's this woke shit like in your homily?" And he was like, "Well, I'm literally just like quoting and like telling you the teachings of Jesus Christ. Like that's what he said, it's what he taught, it's what we should be doing." And the person was like, "Well, that doesn't work anymore." Yeah. So like, love thy neighbor, spread love, be nice. That doesn't work anymore. It's woke. It's woke liberal shit. So like, there's a huge split going on in the Christian faith with these evangelicals. They're changing Jesus. He's being changed. He's turning into something that he was never supposed to be. And I imagine that he's very mad now. So y'all better watch out. I don't very upset.
Wrath of Christ.
The wrath
Second,
of Christ.
Jesus too. This time he comes as a lion.
Like Jesus, but like dressed up like Rambo. Like that's all I can picture.
It's just gonna be a big, buff, brown man with long hair and tied up, and he's gonna kick everybody's ass.
Jesus punching Nazis. And then what will they do? Oh
Yes.
my god. What?
Though I think that's
No,
it
no.
silly?
Hang on. He's gonna be a brown-skinned trans woman.
Yes.
not a man. He's gonna be a trans
Beautiful.
woman. She's gonna be a trans woman.
Jesus is here and
Jesus
she's
too.
Well, the
pissed.
running-
This
well, the-
time she's here to save you. And they're like, "What the fuck?"
They do say like there are certain trans theories that would hint that Jesus would actually be a trans man, because if he was conceived by Mary alone without the intervention of some god impregnating her, then he would be born female.
Right,
Because he
yeah.
would be a direct clone of Mary, and so Jesus is actually a short trans guy carpenter.
I like that theory. That's a cool
Yeah.
theory. I support it. Right along with Spider-Man and Wolverine as trans guys.
Yes. Yes.
The Holy Trinity. Spider-Man, Wolverine, and
Spider-Man.
Jesus.
I can't. I can't. There's a whole Jesus filter quiz on TikTok.
I know, I saw
But
that.
yeah.
1-800 Jesus got a Jesus quiz on TikTok. You can test your Christianity right on the TikTokies.
That was funny.
Oh,
But yeah, question why we allow ourselves to live in a society where we are subjected to violence constantly. Ask yourself if you and your loved ones truly deserve to live in such a rigged abomination.
I feel like a lot of people...
Chances are you don't.
I feel like there are a good amount of people out there that are like, wow, this is just fucked. You know, like this whole situation is really fucked up. But the other thing that like has been happening is they've been able to keep us fractured. Like we haven't been able, like they don't allow us ways to like come together. And you would think that like at least in a virtual space, right? Because that takes away the limits of distance, right? Is like a virtual space. So like everyone, because like you could have a bunch of people come together, like, hey, you know, this is bullshit, we should organize this, that, and a third, right? And you could create something in a virtual space that could, you know, exist in real life. you could mobilize people, but the problem is that within those marginalized communities, within that, like, we all feel victimized by ourselves too, and so there's like all that fraction, like there's that fractioning there too, and so like we're not unified of ourselves, and so yes, all of us in these little pockets everywhere, we're like, wow, this is fucked up, this sucks, like, why don't we do something about it? Why can't we this? We can't, because we're not organized, we're not together. We all have to be.
Yeah.
There needs to be a movement of everyone. Like, everyone walk out on your job. Everyone. Even if we just took all of the marginalized communities, like anyone who falls under that umbrella, which is a shitload of people, and we just walked out on our jobs, or however way we want to protest, that would be incredibly impactful.
The problem is that all of us would be reprimanded for that.
Right.
They can attempt to fire everyone, but there's not enough of the workplace to replace that.
So I'm explaining the hurdle, though. The hurdle is the fear that other people aren't going to do it because they need to stay there because they're in such a precarious position that they're going to be fucked if they don't, right? And
Right.
a lot of people are so on the back foot about things because life has dealt them so many blows that they're just barely keeping it together and they can't afford to be put in that state, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's the rub, is that like people, there's so many people who just can't do that, you know? And there's people who, if you're in a marginalized community and like say you're a privileged cis hetero white person who has no degrees of marginalization, really, you can do that and people will actually applaud you for doing it, for being in solidarity with people who don't have systemic power, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when the people who don't have systemic power do it, they're reprimanded and they lose their jobs.
Right.
And that's the shitty rub about it.
Yeah, and I know that's what keeps people from, like, it's like, well, yeah, we could do all this, that, and a third, but we're all going to lose our jobs, and we're all going to be, so it's like, you have to kind of like things like this have to get built up in stages, and maybe because it's so deep and it's been happening for so long, this is probably going to get built up over the course of generations. But
what we really need is people who have the most privilege to utilize it as such, right?
Yeah, we need people
like,
with resources to build, I guess, kind of like safe houses,
because
safe
they'll get
networks.
Applauded for what we'll get punished for. That's the whole fucking rub. And I feel like a lot of what we need to do is building lateral ties between people on the planet and trying to reinforce that shared humanity between individuals, right, and communities. And like bringing people together in a meaningful way that shows them the inherent value that everybody has, you know? Like if we can do that, we're actually going to make a lot more power or strides forward, right? Because like even if entire minority communities stand up together, there's a lot of people who will still get punished and have to deal with the negative results of that, right?
Yeah.
And
but if you had a safety network to fall back on
of other people who are going to back you up on it, like say a whole bunch of rich white people who are going to lawyer the fuck up and go to town on lawsuits against any employer who were to say give you backlash for doing such a thing, you bet your ass they're going to create an exception for you to be off that day and have the fucking shit, you know what I mean?
Which is why, like,
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, which is why, like, I know organizations like the Satanic Temple, I know that people say a lot of good things about them, and I know a lot of people say a lot of bad things about them, and there's going to be bullshit in every organization, especially one that has grown as quickly as they have. Sure. But people, I guess, like, some people are like, well, why are they just focusing on abortion? You know, like, why are they focusing on this? Like, well, because it's about bodily autonomy. It's really what it's fucking about. It's not about abortion.
That's
it's about
fundamental to their tenets.
Right. And so that's why they're fighting for it, and that's why they're like that's why they got lawyers, and they're going, like, what are you like? At least they're doing something. They're like, all right, well, you know what do we have in this country? We have the courts. We're gonna fight it in the courts. That's how we're gonna fight this fight. And I think that's
Lawyers are
admirable.
satanic.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that's admirable, regardless of whatever structural, political organizations are run by people. People are fundamentally flawed. There will never be a perfect organization. There will never be anything that's perfect that's human run. It's like literally fucking impossible. People are not guilt-free.
Impossibly.
Right. Now,
Also,
should we
gotta
read
shout
out?
out Chris.
Go ahead.
Chris is in the chat.
Yes, I see Chris in the chat. Hello. I know I saw your message, but I was talking.
I know.
It's so hard with a podcast with chat because it's not like a typical stream, you know? But yes, Chris, I am very happy that you were able to catch us. Even though we are a little bit over now, we're going to be wrapping up kind of in the next couple minutes. I feel like I should like what should we do? Just like I'll tell everyone like I feel like we always get the most viewers when we're about to wrap up, which is just so funny. Happens every time.
That's what I was talking about with the stream conundrum. Like the longer you run, the better a stream does. Whereas with the podcast, the more succinct you can keep it, the more people are actually going to consume the entire object.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh well, we are very happy that you were here for the tail end.
Yeah.
Making me blush.
I just like it still blows my mind. Like we don't have a huge audience. We actually have on YouTube. We now have 288 subscribers, which I thought that was pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah, we're getting really close to 300. So if anyone, share this podcast please with anyone who who might enjoy it. I'm really happy about the way the community's grown, and just the fact that like it's gone from like just me and Scott talking in their kitchen to like people on the internet listen to us it's very humbling and it makes me happy. Even though I know I owe you all like 4 episodes for the audio only people. I'm sorry. This is the 4th episode that I owe you. I paused at 110. Life got a little batshit, but I'll get back into it. I'll post them. Don't worry, they will be coming. Like I was saying, we are a little bit over an hour.
Check it out on YouTube with our 288 subscribers.
Yes. Yeah, we are a little bit over an hour, and we want to keep this pretty succinct for our, audio only listeners. Any sort of concluding thoughts and anything that we kind of talked about here today?
Society is definitely organized in a fundamentally violent way, and the more that we can recognize that and openly talk about it, the more we can do something about it, right? I believe that we have to name the ills of society to comb those snakes out of the hair, so to speak. So saying what it is, creating plans to dismantle that specific issue, and working to untangle the knots of colonialism and capitalism one intersection at a time. It's either that or something colossal and bad and chaotic that would get a lot of people killed that wouldn't necessarily be inherently beneficial to anybody, I truly think if you're going to try and make a better world, you're going to have to do it in a peaceful way. Otherwise, you're just going to create a world that believes that you can use more violence to get peace, right?
Right.
I don't want to say that we shouldn't use it. I understand sometimes violence is the only answer for somebody to defend themselves or keep themselves alive, and you do what you have to do at the end of the day, because remember, society and everything levies violence against you constantly. It is appropriate to levy violence if your survival is on the line. Yeah. And I don't blame anybody who has to utilize it to survive, or even somebody who thinks that they have to utilize it to accomplish small things, because very often when somebody does that, it's through a great loss of their own personal agency initially, right? And violence often can be the only way that somebody can reclaim who they are. In fact, like people who are socialized male typically have to be able to exude violence at some point to be able to be recognized as a part of the community. And if one is not capable of backing up the threat of violence at any given moment, their masculinity will always be in question and in judgment, because there is also inherent views towards like men and their ability to perpetuate violence and how that relates to their identities and places in society. So it's way deeper than just what we do. When people's entire identities and egos and views on where they fit into a societal structure is based on their capability to output violence.
Very good way to put that.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'm only high school educated, but
degrees mean nothing.
I would like to have gone to school though, because there is a great amount of things I could have been taught, right?
Honestly,
like
I think
do
you
fucking
would
paperwork, or how to send a goddamn email professionally, right? Like
honestly
there's a
they
lot
never
of things that you do get.
They did kind of teach us to write email. Like it depends on the classes that you had, but I guess what I wish that you could have experienced, Sophia. I will say that like the social experience of college was very cool, because it was like you're still a student, but you're an adult, and they treated you like an adult. It wasn't like high school where they treated you like like a bunch of degenerate kids. You're just But like, so college was nice because like
were.
yeah. But like, college was a little different because it was like they're like you're an adult and like you can have an adult conversation with your professor, and that was kind of cool to have, and just socially it was very freeing. And I had a lot of good like philosophical discussions just like with my classmates and stuff like that. So it was a good time. But in terms of the actual degree meaning anything, yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, uneducated persons say smart thing too.
Yes. You don't have to have a formal education
Smash
to
the
be intelligent.
patriarchy. Fuck Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy.
We won't see y'all for another 3 weeks.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
vacation time.
Yeah, let's see. So
what?
Yeah, so
what?
this yes. So let me just So 2 weeks, really. So this coming
taking a vacation?
This coming Sunday we're at a little convention downtown. So Sunday we won't be available on our usual day. And then the following weekend is Pagan Pride weekend, and the Sunday after that is the little Labor Day picnic thing that we go to. So so the next 2 weeks we won't be available on Sunday. This is honestly, I'm surprised that we're still recording, because usually I've noticed we kind of drop off in the month of August. Like we kind of just disappear in July, August. Because it tends to be really busy.
I thought we were going to be doing a birthday stream.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm very sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's truly actually my birthday on a Sunday next year. So if we don't do a birthday stream, then I might be sad. But, who knows? We'll see how it works into my schedule.
Because your birthday is this coming weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, no birthday stream. Yeah, we'll be at a little convention. So like for the next 2 weeks we won't have a live recording, which is why I'm going to make it my mission to upload these episodes for the audio only people, so that way you're not without us that long. But with that being said, just want to remind everyone of a couple things that we have. So we have our Discord community. There are links to all of these things on our Kick profile here that you see. So we have our Discord community. It's growing. We're getting a little more chatty. I love it. We also have a Ko-fi page. The Hell Satan tier is pretty cool. $6.66, and you can pretty much plug, shout out, say whatever you want within reason. On our podcast, we'll read it for you. $6.66. You can hail whatever it is you'd like to hail. And oh, Chris Sophia, Chris Star in the chat was just said, "Well, I'm thinking about it. Happy early birthday, Sophia," with a cake and a balloon
Thanks.
emoji. And then we do have a merch. We have some merch available on our website if you are interested and you have a couple extra bucks looking for some cool merch.
Need a cool
we have
mug.
stuff.
Need a cool tote.
Yeah.
Need a cool hat.
Yeah. The t-shirts are really comfortable. I ordered a t-shirt and we have a
He wears
tote.
his shirt
Totes
all
are
the
cute.
time.
Yeah, the t-shirts are nice. They're really soft.
We have business cards now.
Yeah, we
gotta
did
go
get
pick
business
them
cards made.
up.
We got them shipped to Rue's mom's, which is because we keep getting our packages stolen. So we get everything shipped to your mom. She hates us by now, I'm
That's
sure.
rough.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
she loves it. It's an excuse to see us.
She's got a porch and we don't,
Yeah,
so like
for the
it's
iron gate that closes.
it's harder to
so
steal
yeah,
off someone's porch. So
She gets all the stuff now.
yeah, she gets our mail.
Makes it
Which we
easier.
should probably go grab. But yeah, so
Yes.
we're gonna sign out here for this week. The next 2 weeks we won't be live because me and Rue will be busy, but we'll be back after
Right.
that. Yep, we'll be back after that, and we will see you all in the next one. But we'll still be in the Discord, so if you want to chat, you have a question about anything, whatever. Oh, hold on, wait, Chris
Hit
just
us
said.
up at the Discord.
Chris has a
which
question
is
for you, Rue.
Betwixt.
Did you say you wear shirts
man.
all the time, or that you wear the Witches Betwixt shirt all the time? I wear the Witches Betwixt shirt all the time. I ordered one for myself. Rue
The
doesn't
hubby.
have one yet.
Yes.
Yeah, I wear it. I wear it very often. It's a
I
very
don't
nice
think
shirt.
they come in sizes big enough for me.
They do. I just
Oh,
didn't
too.
order your one.
See, I'm a
yeah.
terrible promoter.
Yeah.
I gotta buy one. I'm broke.
But yeah, check out the merch. And and it should work, right? Because our friend Jim ordered a hat and got his, and it was fine, and everything was fine. So everything should work correctly with ordering.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jim for ordering our first piece of merch. But yeah, I'm done babbling. Everyone have a happy Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you in a couple
see
weeks.
you in October.
No, see you in September.
I'm kidding. No, don't
September.
curse us like that.
Right. We will see you in a couple weeks. All right, everyone. Have a good one.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Bye.